Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Ben No, and joining me is Sen Dong. Hey, Sen, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, so this is the day after the weekend the new Huntsman movie came out, and we will find out how it did at the box office to see if people are returning to watch it. You know, a movie without Kristen Stewart, fresh off her Twilight fame. This is the sequel, which is Chris Hemsworth and a couple of very fine actresses, but we'll see if they can lift this movie up. And of course, we're returning to see how well The Jungle Book did in its second weekend after opening to what?
Like 106?
103 million.
Okay, 103.
Domestic. How about we start off with the number one movie?
Again,
which is, hey, The Jungle Book. It pulled in 60.8 million, and the amazing thing is it experienced only a 41% drop-off from the previous week.
Right, that's an amazing haul for a film that opened so huge. The great reviews, word of mouth is definitely kicking in for The Jungle Book. I mean, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this looks like it's going to be another huge hit for Disney. It could possibly be the biggest live-action adaptation. It could possibly beat Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland did what, 300 and something total?
Oh, that was the 2010 movie with Johnny Depp. Yeah, it did 334 million domestic, 1 billion worldwide.
Oh, yeah. This could possibly match that at its current weight.
You mean worldwide, over $1 billion?
Domestically, worldwide, it looks like could get there too. It's already halfway there after just a couple weeks of release.
The Jungle Book right now, right, as you said earlier, that animation is not strong in everywhere, like particularly in China, which is right now the second largest industry for films, behind the US, right, and it's catching up and probably become the number one next year or so. Animation is not strong there, but this Jungle Book, it is kind of live action, even though the animals are CGI.
Well, the animation genre is picking up. Zootopia made over 200 million in China. Is the highest grossing animated feature ever in China. And I think one of the highest, if not the highest grossing American film so far in China. Jungle Book did pretty well. In China, it made made over 100 million, like 102 million so far after a couple of weeks of release in China. I would consider this more of a live-action film than an animated feature.
Well, I assume that we didn't hear anything coming out there that it didn't break any records.
Yeah, didn't break any records, but hey, 100 million after a couple of weeks is pretty good in China. I think sometimes people overreact, because it's growing so fast, and they're thinking every movie has to make 200 million in order to be considered a hit. But as long as it makes over 100 million in China, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, sure. But in China, there's this phenomenon going on called phantom tickets, where people just buy tickets to pump up the the revenue.
Yeah, right. Distributors
Okay.
would buy up tickets or do some screwy things with the theaters and ticketing systems to prop up their films. Add an additional 5 or 10 million to the opening.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. Well, we never know.
Right. Yeah, enough cannot be said about the 41% drop-off. Normally movies that open 100 million plus, they experience a high 50s, high 60s% drop-off. This one has 41, which suggests it's going to keep on having that strong hold, just like Zootopia.
Yeah. We'll probably hold up pretty well until Civil War. And then I think it'll experience a steeper drop, mainly just because, Civil War will suck up a lot of people. And then the week after the Civil War, it'll get steady again.
Okay, what's something to keep an eye on?
So, speaking of wars, let's move on to number 2, The Huntsman, Winter's War.
Yes.
I don't know. What figure were we putting it last week?
Yeah, let me set this up, okay? So,
right.
I was bullish on the movie, right? I say, it looks great. It has 3 fine actresses, Charlize Theron, Emily Blunt, Jessica Chastain, and of course there's Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have Kristen Stewart because of what happened, tabloid style. She got into an affair with the previous director, Rupert Sanders.
Yeah, who also didn't return for this film.
Right. So Huntsman Winter's War is actually a prequel / sequel. So it takes place like before Snow White and the Huntsman, and after Snow White and the Huntsman, after some voiceover. So I said, hey, it looks great, has great actors. It would probably do 40 million, open to 40 million.
Yeah, because the first film opened to over 50 million.
Yes. And then you said...
I said 15 to 20, but I'm going with 15.
Okay, so I'm not good at math here. Which one is this closer to?
I'll let you have it.
Okay, all right. It opened to 20 million.
Yeah.
So I guess it's closer to yours.
Yeah, right. I think I was right. I mean, it does feel like when your main star and the director left your project, it feels like leftovers, pretty much. Like you said, the first Snow White and the Huntsman, the first film, was riding on the box office success of the Twilight films. With what happened, Kristen Stewart's fans of the Twilight films aren't returning to see this because Kristen Stewart isn't in it. The Twilight glow isn't there anymore. So this is just one of those films that are trying to cash in from the first film without the leads, and it performed like one.
Well, yeah, essentially the story was over in the first movie. Right now they're trying to milk a sequel. An unnecessary one at that. People seem to agree.
Yeah.
And the budget is reportedly 115 million for Huntsman Winter's War. So it doesn't look like they'll make that domestically.
Yeah, it looks like it'll lose money. At this rate. Although overseas is doing pretty well. It made 80 million overseas. So worldwide is already at 100 million. So you know what? Worldwide it might break even. But domestically at 20 million and with such poor reviews and poor word of mouth, like 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not sure what the cinema score is, but I remember reading it wasn't high.
Oh yeah, cinema score is a B+, which is
average.
Okay-ish.
Yeah, average.
Yeah.
So with such a weak opening, such poor reviews and average word of mouth, I think this is another one of those films that will drop like a brick in the second weekend. I'm expecting 60 to 70% drop off for this.
Yeah, it is rare for a movie with a big advertising budget to open so low and have staying power.
Yeah, right. Again, Chris Hemsworth, other than the Thor films, just can't seem to open anything.
No. You know what? When I die, I want him to lower me in the ground so he can let me down one last time.
Good one.
That's an old joke. I stole that. But yeah, you cannot count on Chris Hemsworth for movies outside of the Thor franchise.
Yeah, right.
Okay, moving along. Number 3, Barbershop. The Next Cut is the sequel to, the Barbershop movie starring Ice Cube. This one, if you have regular people returning like Cedric the Entertainer, Regina Hall, new to the series, Nicki Minaj. And so as you said, it's holding up pretty well. I thought, it might not hold up as well, but it only experienced a, 48% drop off, put in about 10.5 million.
Yeah, I'm not sure because when you look at it on the surface, 48% drop off is kind of mediocre, not great. But for films that are targeted towards the African American audience, that's actually a solid hold because those films tend to drop off in the 60% range on the second weekend. So if you look at it in that perspective, the 48% is pretty good. But if you compare it to the other films in the top 10, it's kind of, I think it's the hugest drop off.
It is, but still, like I say, you have these two big movies. The Jungle Book is gonna have this strong hold. Winter's War is gonna do some damage, even though it's only open 20. Is that still the new movie has the advertisement? It has the marketing power of Universal behind it, and Warner Brothers is just the second movie. Ice Cube returning in another sequel, talking about events, stuff that affect African American lives in America. Not exactly, must-see stuff, right? A movie for entertainment, right?
Yeah, not an event film.
Right. Given that, it's still, the hold is pretty good. Like I say, if a movie drop, it's sub 50 in the second weekend, the hold's pretty good. And especially, as you say, a movie that's targeted toward the African American audience.
Yeah, I think, 50% range is okay, not great. If it wasn't a film that's targeted towards the African American audience, I would say it's kind of like slightly on the higher end side. I wouldn't consider it leggy, but if you compare it to other African American films, that's a pretty solid hold. Speaking of hold, at number 4, Zootopia continues to hold up really, really well. Well, 6.6 million over the weekend at a drop off of just 19%. After 8 weeks of release, it's made 316 million, and it's the film with the lowest drop off in the top 10. And worldwide is at 908 million.
As we pointed out, it's on the $1 billion watch. It looks like it's slowing down everywhere, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it's holding up elsewhere, but I remember in China it was holding up really well. But I don't think it's. I think even in China is not playing anymore. In other countries, it might still be holding up.
Yeah, so it has about 100 more million to go.
Yeah.
And I think it hasn't opened in Japan yet, so that's a good chunk of change there.
Yeah, animation is a huge market in Japan, so there's a possibility that it can get to 100 million. And it's still holding up really well in the US. I mean, this 19% drop off is the lowest during its release.
It's still going despite the Jungle Book being in theaters.
Yeah, and despite losing 400 theaters. Let's move on to number 5, The Boss. 6 million over the weekend, drop off of 40%. Is made about 50 million after 3 weeks of release. It's kind of on the lower end of Melissa McCarthy's comedies. If you just compare it to its budget of 29 million, it's going to make a profit for the studios. But I would consider this a slight disappointment, mainly because most of her other films have done better.
Oh, here's what it boils down to. This is a project that she worked with her husband.
Right.
It's a directing vehicle for her husband.
Right.
So in other movies, more successful ones, she worked with people with more...
higher credentials, yeah.
Yes, high credentials. Given that, I mean, it's okay,
Yeah, it's okay.
On a financial level, it's successful, right? Critical level, it's a bomb,
Yeah.
It's not doing well critically. But on a financial level, it's good enough for Universal to grant them more movies, the husband and wife pair.
I think there'll be some skepticism here, though. Because they're like, okay, Tammy, made 80-something million. It's kind of one of her lower grossing films. And then The Boss is going to make probably, I guess, 60 or 65. So it's kind of on the lower end. And then the next one, they're going to be thinking, well, the next one might only following this trend, might only do 40 or 50.
Yeah, but by then, they probably give them, like maybe a lower budget, 15.
I don't know. If they lower the budget to 15, I don't think Melissa McCarthy's agent would be happy.
Well, they just get more of the profits. They can do it that way. Less upfront, more of back end.
Yeah, if they can work some kind of deal like that, or her agent might just be like, hey, why don't you just make a film with other directors?
Well, she's doing that too, but this is more like she giving her husband a chance to have a career.
Yeah, and it's not going up, it's going down. I don't know, they might give him another chance, like 3 strikes and you're out type of thing. If they do another movie together and the downward slope continues, then I don't think they're going to get another one together. Unless they want to, fund it themselves.
Yeah, they definitely can. But we already have 2 movies go by and, both movies are not good.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6 is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. It put in 5.5 million over the weekend, and in 5 weeks, it made about 319 million. Worldwide figure is at 851. So as we said, they'll have a tough time making 900.
Right. But I think like we said before, the studio, the magic number the studios we're looking at is 800 million, and it's already past that. I think they were hoping for 1 billion. And it's gonna end up somewhere in between, so I guess they're okay. Like, the movie itself is good enough.
Oh yeah, I got people, there are some good stuff in there that can be built upon, and This is the long game, right? This is the DC cinematic universe. This is just the beginning. Well, it begins with Man of Steel.
Yeah.
This is really the sequel, and they're gonna add more and build upon that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, just good enough. Not good, not great, not bad, just good enough.
Yeah, I mean, if a movie, if a movie that's made almost 900 million, it's a good position to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 7, we have Criminal. Just like the name itself, the movie's kind of a generic thriller starring Kevin Costner as some guy who has a memory of Ryan Reynolds. And they're trying to find him. And it pulled in about 3.1 million, experienced a 46% drop off in the second weekend. And so far, it only pulled in about 10 million.
Right. I think it's kind of a disappointment because, even Kevin Costner by himself have done better with his recent films. And, Criminal also has Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot. This is kind of almost pretty fresh off of Deadpool and Batman vs. Superman. So you would expect the two of them to at least give this a slight bump. But no, it ended up doing worse than Kevin Costner's last few films.
Well, it's just the movie is just a generic thriller, really. I mean, given what's in theaters, the competition at the time, most people, and they did, chose to watch the other movies.
Right. All right, let's move on to number 8. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 at 2.1 million, holding up steady. The drop-off is only about 36%, and it's made 55 million so far. Not nearly as much as the first film, but compared to its $18 million budget, it's a decent size, modest hit for Universal.
I just want to add, bring on Wedding 3.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Yes. I think it's good enough to make another wedding.
In another 20 years?
I hope they do sooner, but but of course, where would you go on from here, right?
Yeah, it's good enough for another one, but
we'll see. Yeah, we probably have to wait a long while and for them to come up with a story. I think Nia Vidalo wrote the script.
So it depends on what she wants to do.
Right. Moving along, number 9 is Compadres. It pulled in about 1.3 million. I don't know what this movie is about.
Yeah, at 368 theaters.
Yes, that's what's impressive about it.
At least got in the top 10. Yeah, I mean the per screen average is kind of just so 3,700. With movies that open in limited theaters, you expect a higher per screen average. But this got into the top 10, and before this, I didn't even know it existed.
So this got into the top 10 because this week's movie, the weekend movies are so top heavy. Let's move on to number 10. Eye in the Sky pulled in 1.2 million over the weekend, experienced a 21% drop off. In 7 weeks, it's still at 14 million.
15 million.
15 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's actually kind of holding up steady, even though you look at the per screen average is only $1,450, and that's kind of low. I'm surprised theaters are still keeping it in. But hey, it's 22% is the second lowest drop off of all the films in the top 10.
Yeah, but we're getting in the 3-day figures in the 1 million range, which is not in and of itself impressive.
Right.
But because, like I say, it's so top heavy that these movies with lower earnings are sneaking in. All right, that's it for the top 10. How about we move on to the openings?
Okay, sure.
Okay, we have 3: Keanu, Mother's Day, and Rachet and Clank. Okay, you would have to explain Keanu to me.
I can explain it to you. It's a comedy from the stars of a comedy series on cable. Apparently the show is critically acclaimed, and this is one of those action comedy that makes fun of action comedies. Or actually an action comedy that makes fun of action films. And it stars Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele. Their show is called Key and Peele, I think.
Yes. The poster has a cat on it.
Yeah.
Wearing hardware. Going gangsta.
It's getting decent reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. 75% so far, with just 16 reviews. I seen the trailer. It's kind of like maybe they're making fun of the Keanu.
Oh, it's John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick. So maybe this is a satire of John Wick, and they named it Keanu too.
All right.
It's kind of interesting because these films are probably somehow subconsciously spawned by the Ong-Bak movies with Tony Jaa. Someone kidnaps his elephant twice, and he goes on and tries to rescue them.
Okay, if you say so. But action movies, right? They just have the slimmest excuse for plot.
Yeah.
It's usually start with a kidnapping, or someone stole something, and they went on to and go through this gauntlet.
Yeah, but usually the object or the thing being kidnapped, or usually a loved one, or a person. With Ong Bak, is an elephant, and John Wick is a dog, and now Keanu
looks like a cat.
is a cat.
Yeah. Okay, let's cut to the chase. What do you think? How do you think it will perform?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, how about I start first? I'm gonna throw out 5.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at too. Sure, the show's popular on cable, but you're not sure how that will translate on the big screen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's like was it?
Yeah, Entourage movie.
Yeah,
right?
like the
I
Entourage
thought that would
movie.
be huge,
Yeah.
but and I even heard less about.
And you
less.
heard
I
of
heard
yeah,
less.
and you heard of Entourage, but with Key and Peele, I've seen them in a couple of talk shows, but yeah, other than that, I'm not sure how mainstream they are.
I don't think they are.
Okay, so yeah,
Okay,
about
so
5.
5.
Okay,
5. It could be lower.
yeah.
All right. The next movie is Mother's Day. A Gary Marshall movie, I have to point out. Like, he has these hits from way past.
Yeah, Pretty Woman, and then he did the Valentine's Day, which was a pretty big hit.
Right? The Runaway Bride, Princess Diaries.
So now it's one of these holiday movies. So now we have Mother's Day with a star-studded ensemble.
Well, hey, you could say Gary Marshall is now directing event films.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stars in this movie. Jennifer Aniston, Julia Roberts, Kate Hudson, Jason Sudeikis. So a lot of big stars. I don't know, Mother's Day. There is a shortage of movies for women on the top 10. Unless you count The Boss, but The Boss is dropping pretty quickly. And then there's My Big Fat Greek Wedding too.
Well, I don't think anyone is asking for a movie about Mother's Day. I don't think anyone wants to be catered to in this sense. It's just like Valentine's Day. We have to have a movie about Valentine's, or Christmas. We have to have a movie about Christmas. And eventually they're going to have a movie coming out for every major holidays.
Right. Hey, but Valentine's Day did well.
I can see Valentine's, right?
Yeah.
That you're trying to impress the other person.
Yeah.
Mother's Day, I don't know. Usually take your mom out to eat instead of watch a movie.
That's a good point there, Yeah. Usually Mother's Day. But then you can say the same thing about, Valentine's Day, there, people do go to the movies for Valentine's Day too. Yeah, but, is this a film that you take your mom to? Yeah, good point though. I don't know.
If I'm going to watch a movie, I'm going to watch Jungle Book.
But then there's all these stars.
Well, it's not proven that there's, all these stars can carry a movie. Where's the other one?
Valentine's Day you did. Yeah,
okay, Valentine's Day, there was all these other holiday movies. It's not a given. That's what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
What are you thinking?
Since there's all these stars, I'll just put in 15 million.
I'm going to go lower. I think I'm going 5 to 10.
Okay, 5 to 10. I'll go 15.
Yeah, it's going to fall between that range, 5 to 10. I'm not impressed.
Yeah, I'm not impressed either, but I'll go 15.
All right, our final movie is Ratchet & Clank. It's based on a game.
And, those films have a very good track record, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it has the voice of Sylvester Stallone, John Goodman, Paul Giamatti, Rosario Dawson. I'm
going a couple million. Because people taking their kids to a family film would rather take them to the Jungle Book or Zootopia.
Yes. It's a movie that people are trying to cash in the name. It was popular back then. Today, people really don't know what Ratchet and Clanks are.
Yeah.
And you as a parent, would, like you say, probably take them to Zootopia or just Jungle Book.
Yeah. So I'm going a couple million.
What's a couple million?
Like 2.
5? 2?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll throw it in with you. 2 as well.
We kind of agree except for Mother's Day. I'm going about 15. You're going about 10. 5 to 10.
5 to 10. 5 to 10.
Right. Then Keanu, we both have it at 5, and then Ratchet.
Because we're thinking that it's probably not mainstream material.
Yeah, and Ratchet and Clank were both going about 2.
Yes, because of the track record of previous video games to movie.
Yeah, and because the Jungle Book is still holding up really well, and then Zootopia is still holding up really well.
Yeah, and normally when people have confidence in a movie, they don't throw it. This is like meat to a lion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the week before Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah, this is a calm before the storm.
Right. So there's a slot open. They're gonna throw in different stuff out there. Hope that they're gonna make some money first before Civil War hits.
Right. That's all we have for this week. I think next week's gonna be the more interesting one.
Yes, we're gonna see if Captain America: Civil War will break any records.
Right.
And more, ammunition between DC and Marvel. Like, Captain America is beating Batman versus Superman at the box office, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, Batman vs. Superman did move out of the way. I mean, they were both originally slated for the same weekend, and Batman and Superman moved out of the way.
Right. Warner Brothers blinked.
Yeah.
Okay. See you next week.
All right, see you guys next week.